It's 8 o'clock, and we are here with Dr. Gary Lindner. I wanted to let you know that this is an independent Nikon consultant presentation. It has nothing to do with Nikon Corporate, except that we just talk about how to make people be less sick, I guess, if nothing else. During the presentation, if you have questions or if you'd like to give a testimonial, just put it in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat. Somebody's already asked for a copy of his videos, and I've put a link into my YouTube channel, which has all of his videos posted there. And so with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Gary. He has a PhD in physiology, and so that makes him somewhat of a very valuable asset to Nikon. He has tenured in major universities, including UC California at Davis, and he co-founded a biotech company in Northern California, which was nationwide and multi-million dollars. He has been an advocate for Nikon for over 18 years, and so without further ado, I give you the man who created Cocoa Puffs, Dr. Gary Lindner.
Thank you, Sparks. You just always have to just throw one in there, don't you, man? So, and Sparks, thank you. I know you are a huge self-care advocate and done many things online and blogs that help a lot of people. So we're going to talk about some choices. And Sparks, would you agree life is about choices?
Life is nothing but a series of choices, yes.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And if we had a choice, I think we would prefer to be healthy than not healthy.
If that's a question, I think everybody with any sane mind would choose to be healthy, because life is not the same when you're sick.
It's not. And if we're, we can be a benefit to the people around us, or we can be a burden. And a lot of times that really has to do with the choices that we make, especially with our health. We're going to talk about self-care. We're going to talk about that's an active process through which people become aware of and make choices for a healthier life. But I think a lot of times we leave our health to chance, and that's really not not the way to do it. Sparks, if we leave our health to chance, do you think our chances are pretty good we'll be healthy?
I know for a fact that they're pretty bad that we're going to be healthy.
Let's look at it this way, okay? And we're all familiar with the Wheel of Fortune. Now, if we were aware of certain things, or even if we aren't aware, if we look at our health this way, and we're spinning this wheel, you can see that our chances of being healthy aren't very good. It's about 10%, and we can be about half healthy 10% of the time too. So what I'm saying is about 80% of the time when we spin this wheel, we're going to end up with not being healthy and having some type of chronic disease or ailment or something that impacts our lives and the people around us. So if people know that, Sparks, do you think really they pay more attention to their health?
I would hope that they would. Sometimes I doubt with certain people, but generally speaking, yes.
Yes. So we want to be healthy by choice, not by chance. And I'm going to show you some figures here from the CDC. You can look at very similar ones for CDCs for North America, but World Health Organization globally. And I'm telling you this to make you aware. Many times when I'm presenting information like this, it's my intention is not to scare anybody, but it's really just about some awareness. And of course, that's part of our definition of self-care. We have a 50% chance, if we're 18 or above in age in this country, of having one chronic disease. 25% of us have more. Look at this next statement, which says by age 65, and that age is going down. In other words, what I'm saying, we're getting chronic diseases earlier and earlier in our lifespan. But we have an 80% chance of having one or more chronic diseases. That has become our major expense, treating and manage that chronic disease. It accounts for actually 86% That's pretty close to 90% of $2.7 trillion that we spend on healthcare in this country. It's our major cause of death. It is 7 out of 10 deaths each year, and in 2012 it was 60% globally, but it's currently at 68%. So those trends aren't going down; they're going up. And the issue here is we fill 4.3 billion prescriptions in this country annually. 20 years ago, it was 7 per individual. It's almost doubled by 2013. It went up 15% last year, the number of prescriptions we filled. And again, most of those to treat and manage disease. It's not for communicable disease. These are for chronic diseases, become our major expense. Treating and managing chronic diseases also affects us financially. It's a major cause of bankruptcy. 62% of bankruptcies in the U.S. are due to chronic disease. So I think we might want to find out, is there something going on here? Why? Why is this? We didn't have this problem 100 years ago, 50 years ago. We had more, non-communicable diseases, which basically we're talking about chronic issues, not infectious type of disease, is out of control. I mean, it really is. So let's look at this. I'm going to present a stepwise fashion of what's really kind of going on here. And I think everybody on this morning's call would agree our world has changed. It is not the same place it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And we have a world where we, with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, you name it, a lot of environmental toxins. I mentioned this on last night's call as well, that just the last couple of days I was researching that whole history of using so many chemicals in our environment. And if you look at that, the interesting thing I found was that many of our pesticides and herbicides were developed right around World War II. And the scientists working on that were prohibited from publishing. They were funded by the Department of Defense, and they were actually being formulated for chemical warfare. After World War II, then of course, that's kind of scary in itself. And then after World War II, we had the means to do this, so it just became rampant of using pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and those are just one category of environmental toxins that we're talking about. We have these chemicals. Excuse me. Good water. Water matters. We have these chemicals everywhere. I mean, in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the homes we live in, the beds we sleep in, the offices we work in, public schools. It is rampant. The air inside our home is anywhere from 2 to 100 times worse outside. Some of the worst air in public schools, airplanes, hotels. And some of those places we can avoid, but it's also outside. It's very tough to avoid this in a modern world. And what this ends up doing is what we call a body burden. This is a relatively new term. It was coined in 2002. Many people aren't aware of it, and we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about chronic disease, and we're going to draw an interrelationship between these three topics. So if we look at environmental toxins, there are over 80,000 chemicals currently used in the U.S. We add 5 new ones every day. The 5 new ones every day. And most people think that these are tested before they're released to our environment or to us, but they really aren't. And many times they aren't tested until somebody has an issue or sees a result or a problem from that specific chemical. So each of us have more than 200 contaminants, and I think that's getting closer to 300 now. It's something that I think we would all want to be aware of. The Time magazine cover story that you see on this picture, it is called The Poisoning of America, and it was published September 22nd of 1980. So the question I ask is, has that problem gotten better or worse in the last 36 years? And the answer is it's gotten worse. It's gotten exponentially worse. So with all these environmental toxins and other things around us, what happens is that we exceed our body's ability to excrete them. More is coming in than we can get rid of. And what that creates is what we call this body burden. You might as well just call it pollution in people, because really that's what it is. It's not only as we go through our life that we start to sequester more of these, but also right now, the Environmental Working Group did a study in 2005 testing the umbilical cord blood of newborn infants, and they detected nearly 187 carcinogenic. And I might add to that too, that's only for those they tested. So how many didn't they test for? So we have this toxic world. We exceed our body's ability to excrete. It builds up in our bodies, and that creates this pollution in people. So what this leads to is very many problems, and very many common problems. And some of these problems, some of these chronic diseases were not commonplace just a few decades ago. So these diseases I have on this slide have three things in common. The first is that body burden, environmental toxins is a factor in their expression. The second is that they are all chronic diseases, which means they last over periods of time. Chronic disease is basically identified as something that lasts for more than 3 months. So they need to be treated and managed for a long time. The third and most interesting is that they're all preventable. Now, these are not all of the diseases. I couldn't put them on one presentation slide. There are many, many, many more, but these are the major ones. The only disease that probably is not preventable on there would be type 1 diabetes. But of the 26 million Americans in the United States that are diabetic, only 5% of those are type 1. The rest are type 2, which is preventable. So what's the answer here? How can we be empowered to make healthier choices? And I think self-care is the way to go. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too. Many people, when I'm talking about this, and it just go, the government will take care of this, or somebody else will take care of that. I'm telling you, they won't. There's just really too much money behind that in being chemical and pharmaceutical companies. So we really want to give ourselves and others that we care about a way to move forward, actually to make a choice for a healthy life. And that is self-care. Be healthy by choice, not by chance. So the first part of this presentation has helped us become aware of some of these issues. We've gone the interrelationships between environmental toxins, sequestering those toxins, of body burden, and to chronic disease. The solutions are pretty simple. And let me just say this. People many times perceive health as being hard. And that perception stems from what we've been taught about it. And we've always been taught the good path, the pathway to good health is two things, diet and exercise. And I think, many of you there, I see some of you nodding your heads. And then we perceive that as hard because it requires a lifestyle change. It's not that hard, it's pretty simple. And the solutions are found in nature. There's a lot to health other than just diet and exercise. And don't get me wrong, as a physiologist, I'm not saying it's not a good choice. That is a good choice, but it's only a little piece of the choice. Actually, sleep is more important than diet exercise, and sleep really does matter. So the solutions here are found in nature. And while Western medicine and pharmaceutical companies have studied disease, there is a company that has spent close to 40 years and millions of dollars studying our health. Now, don't confuse those two things as being the same, because they aren't. They are basically almost diametrically opposed. When you focus on studying disease, that's really what's happening when something goes wrong with the body. Let's focus on how we prevent that from happening, and then we're really looking more towards studying health. And here's what this company came up with, and this is pretty profound. It was nearly 19 years ago that I was on a business trip in Asia when I was first introduced to the company I'm going to introduce to you in just a little bit. And it really caught my attention. It caught my attention because I was 46 years old at the time. I was stressed. I loved what I did, but I was at that point to where, and I think that's kind of a point in age where people first become aware that they could probably be healthier. I mean, many do at other times in their life, but that's when it came to me, because I was starting to show symptoms and actually looking at blood pressure medication. My blood pressure was up. I was quite overweight. I didn't sleep well. I didn't eat well. I loved what I did. And I didn't, I really noticed that I wasn't feeling as vibrant or energetic as I usually do. And thank goodness somebody, a health professional actually it was in Taiwan, started to tell me about this company that looks at health very differently. And at first, a lot of times we're skeptical about that. But the more I kind of looked at this, it just made plain common sense. So if we look at these 5 things, and a lot of times, again, from a perception, we don't value, I don't think we value enough their importance in our life, their importance in us being healthy. But these: air, water, sleep, food, light, these are basic elements. They are essential for life. We cannot live without them. And they have been compromised through industrialization, modernization, whatever you want to call it, to the point where they aren't the way nature intended them to be anymore. If we look at the air, the water, the food, I mean, we're getting all these environmental toxins. We aren't sleeping enough. Everybody thinks it's okay to sleep 5-6 hours a night. It's not. Our body needs more sleep than that. We can't survive without the light of the sun. And most people don't even get 20 minutes of sunlight a day, because we spend most of our waking hours indoors, and then, of course, sleeping in the night in the dark where we aren't getting any sunlight. So these, in their natural form, are what our body wants. Let me put it this way. These, in their natural form, is what supports our body and helps us stay healthy. So I don't think anybody would agree that that's pretty much common sense. So the company I'd like to introduce you to has actually developed a complete self-care solution. The company's called Nikken. They're originally from Japan. They've been around 40 years. And the more I learned about this company, the more I became a self-care advocate. And the transition there was very simple, because, like I said, it made common sense. So this is a quote from Healthy Child, Healthy World. It says, Nikken is a research and development company that produces and distributes products that touch upon each of the vital areas of healthy living. And then it goes on to list restful sleep, clean air, clean water, balanced nutrition, and natural light. I don't think, basically what it's saying there is it's touching on every aspect of health, to provide our body with what it wants. So we have these products and these technologies that we bring into our homes to create this self-care sanctuary, if you will, to help support our bodies to stay healthy. And it's really a pretty simple thing to do. This is a representation of a slide, and basically around it is everything that a slide needs to be healthy, or everything a cell needs to be healthy. They all work together synergistically. And we have 10 trillion cells in our body. We need to replace 6 billion of them a day. that sounds like a daunting task. If we all say 1001, our bodies just replaced 25 million cells. And so we need to provide ourselves with what it needs so it can do that. Here's the very, very interesting thing about the Niken self-care solution, the Wellness Home. Here's the product and technology associated with each of those needs to keep our cells healthy so that we can replace those 6 billion a day. And as you can see, it encompasses a lot more than just diet and exercise. So our solution here, our self-care solution, is pretty simple. It's providing our body with these vital elements, these things, the way nature, their requirements, the way nature intended it to be. By doing that, we reduce this body burden, this pollution in our bodies, and it's simple to do. People don't have to go through huge lifestyle changes to get started. So they can just start drinking clean, healthy water. And we also have presentations on each of these categories. So whoever invited you this morning, please get back with them and start with another presentation in that area that is most interest to you. This is the most logical, effective, and affordable self-care system in the world, bar none. And I say that to you as a physiologist and as a self-care advocate. We have a very difficult time explaining to people how good you can feel. I mean, whether you're currently healthy or whether you have some challenges, when all of a sudden you start to live in this sanctuary or this greenhouse for humans and start to support your body so it can do what it wants to do, which is keep it healthy. So you can open up a self-care portal for yourself. It's very simple. You can register as a customer. It's free. There's no obligation. You have access to great self-care information. You can order directly some of the products. Let's say if water was your first choice to start being healthier, or you can get them from your existing Niken consultants. So I advocate that you advocate for self-care and become a registered customer and start your pathway here to being healthy by choice, not by chance. And Sparks, we probably have some time for some questions, and thank you for this slide here, my good friend. It's I love it. I really do.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to use the whole theme through my update of my website. But in any case, I don't see any questions, but I do see some pretty important names in here for testimonials. So I would like to open that up to you if you'd like to open up for testimonials. There's one name in here.
Did we ask for testimonials?
I have not asked.
Wingman, did you chat for them?
No, I did not, sir.
So let me I'll start with a testimonial because I'm 64 years old and I'm healthier than I was when I was 46.
Well,
right there.
I'll continue it. I'm going to be 68 here in a few weeks, and somebody mentioned last night that the doctors are always astonished when you don't have any prescriptions. And so I had recently had a little minor operation on my leg, and the nurses kept saying, gee, you heal so quickly. And are you sure you're not on any drugs, any prescriptions? And I had to say, no, I'm just no, just don't do it. So I took them a list of what I was on. So I listed all the Niken products and gave them a list of all of the ingredients. So that kind of blew them away. I see Dave Johnson's on here. I just know he wants to say something. Dave Johnson.
Oh, golly, I wasn't expecting that. I got to say amen. I'm super excited about the product, and I'm happy to say that Monday I'm 66, and I don't do drugs.
Happy birthday.
I do Niken. Thank you.
I don't do drugs. I love that.
That's very funny, very funny. Sparks, Julie's on, and somebody else is doing that. My battery is getting very low, so Julie, would you do a testimonial on self-care for us, please?
Sure. Can you hear me? I have a headset on.
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi. Well, are we starting with our ages? Is that what we're doing now? I'll be 46 shortly, if that's what we're doing. I too don't do drugs. I'm off actually all of the prescription drugs that I was on prior to meeting Nikan. My primary one is being off migraine medication. I used to max out my migraine prescription every month. I had debilitating migraines, as you can see. I'm in my JOB with a lot of fluorescent lighting, and I have two computer screens in front of me, and it would trigger migraines all the time. And I have not had one in a year and a half. And this necklace and the water were the original triggers for stopping them, and I firmly believe it. And as a self-care advocate, I'm not taking it off. I have spares to loan out, which I do all the time. But so that was one of my big changes in my life from self-care perspective. And my husband, when I met Nikan, was very, very ill, and had been in bed for many months from a tick-related illness, or two tick-related illnesses. And we'd been through the healthcare, the sick care system. We'd seen about 7 or 8 different physicians, plus a homeopathic physician started on our pathway, and then Nikan. And within a month, 2 or 3 months at most, he was back to 95% of his regular personality, thank goodness, and his energy levels and his discomfort was gone. So, yes, if you ask him, the water and the sleep system saved his life. So yeah. I am forever grateful for this company doing the research that they've done, and will continue to share.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Dr. Gary,
yes.
I have a question from
Sparks. Let's stop the recording here today because the battery is very low on my computer, and I did not bring my power chains. So I'll stay on, and why don't we switch you to host once I stop this? So I just want to say thank you very much, everybody. Take this, take it seriously. Be healthy by choice, not by chance. And as we first started with, because your chances aren't very good. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.